Throughout history, people have made amazing accomplishments that define themselves. Now, it's our turn to tell those accomplishments, to tell his story, her story, their story, and even your story. With Mike Wexler.
And welcome to Your Story with me, Mike Wexler. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. Make sure you guys like, comment, subscribe. I'm not a YouTuber. I don't know how to do this stuff, but this is going to be the best of my ability. I have a very special guest when it comes to this episode of Your Story because I'm showcasing and highlighting a story that is really a one of a kind. He is in the professional wrestling scene, former MPW, Millennium Pro Wrestling world champion. Unfortunately, he is in the sidelines right now, but we're wishing him the best of recovery. And not only that, but he's a gifted independent wrestler when it comes to the singles run, and also as a tag team wrestler as a part of the Brothers Divine. And of course, how can we forget 1/3 of the Millennials? So, ladies and gentlemen, the one, the only, Danny Devine. How are you, my friend?
I'm good, man. Man, I forgot all that stuff. Thank you for reminding me all the things I've done.
No problem. No problem. I mean, like as we had discussed before the air, I really didn't get to see your work in full until I had seen your stuff with the Millennials, of course. And then as time had progressed, I really didn't get to see you as an individual wrestler until Raise the Bar.
Yeah, man, that's crazy. That was, I would say it was like one of my big breaks, but I guess it was the first larger scale show I kind of got out of my comfort zone to go do. So that a lot of eyes got put on me because of that show.
Oh yeah, that was a great. I believe it was a fatal 4-way match or a triple threat, one of those two. It was the fatal 4-way. It was with Fidel Bravo, Jordan Clearwater, yourself, and then oh my gosh, who was the fourth man? I think it was Andy Brown. Andy Brown. And that was an entertaining match, like of all time, at least for Raise the Bar, at least.
Yeah, it's funny. It was the first time I'd ever worked with Fidel or Jordan.
Mm-hmm.
I'd worked with Andy a couple of times before, but it was my first time getting in the ring, so I was a little nervous about that because first time you kind of get work with somebody for the first time, you're like, oh man, are we gonna line up okay? Is our stuff gonna mesh well? And then when you're in a 4-way, you got to deal with 3 other guys trying to do that, so it was. I was super nervous, I'll tell you that, but it ended up being a super fun match. I look back on it often and I'm like, man, we hit a lot of good stuff there. So yeah, it was super cool.
Oh yeah. That event was definitely stacked to say the least, but I wanted to start off this conversation with, and again, this was something that we had said before we got on the air. Let's talk about Millennium Pro Wrestling and how much that means to you as a person. We've seen many posts of promoting the show, being on the show, of course, being the former MPW world champion. What does Millennium Pro Wrestling mean to you as a person?
Oh man. Without it, I wouldn't be a wrestler. So it means everything to me as far as wrestling goes. And it's where I've met, man, some of my very best friends in this world was through that promotion. And it's given me the opportunity to live my dreams in ways of wrestling, in coaching, and in so many. I've gotten to learn so many avenues of the wrestling business because of Millennium that it will always mean the world to me. I'll always be a part of it, and I love that place, and I will hold the flag high no matter what, no matter who is there, how many people, what's going on. I will always be the kind of the banner waver of MPW.
Oh yeah, you could see the fun that you guys are having. I had a discussion with Shane Hayes, aka Shane Thorne, a while back, and he was a part of the classes training over there at Millennium Pro Wrestling in Chatsworth. And just as he had described in the interview, like unlike other wrestling training, how it's supposed to be like hard and like very tough. It was very interesting when I heard him say that it was very fun. Like it like wrestling's fun. Like that was the key thing that he had said. So, seeing that aspect of training is really special, especially coming from a fan's perspective.
Yeah, no, Shane is awesome. I'll tell you. I've been in a couple classes with Shane, and we've got a chance to go out to eat and stuff afterwards. Dude, he is the coolest guy. And he doesn't have to be as cool as he is to people because he's been to the dance, he's been to the show. and he's a big deal. And he comes in, and the greenest guys in the room, the newest people, he'll jump in the ring and do drills with them, and like that's crazy to me. And he's always great. But yeah, the atmosphere at Millennium is just, we try to, it sounds cliche to anybody that has a thing, but like we are a family. Like we take care of each other. We look out for each other. We've had several people come, that didn't start with us and they've joined up with us, and it's great. And I think that it's because we have that weekly show every week. We kind of have something we're striving for through training. We're trying to, it's not just like a debut and then, okay, good luck. I'm trying to get on this roster. We make the joke that you get called up to the Friday shows out of training, kind of like you get called up from NXT. So
Right.
yeah, I think it's very special.
Oh yeah, and then speaking about those weekly shows, I mean that's amazing. Every Friday over at Chatsworth, you can find Millennium Pro Wrestling and having an event going on. I found that interesting because I went to the Black Friday one. I think it was, oh my gosh, either A, it was after Thanksgiving, or B, it was before Thanksgiving,
Right.
2020, 2021, and just the atmosphere of the crowd and how much they're engaged. And then not only that, but the fun that the wrestlers have inside the ring is really something as a fan going in is really like, okay, this is fun to watch. This is really cool to see everybody having fun.
Yeah, yeah. It's funny that was one of the ones you came to. We have like several. We call them the big shows, but they're the shows that we like build to. And Black Friday is one of those every year. We always do it, and it's always the same name. Because we have wacky names, but Black Friday is always the same day every year. It's the day after Thanksgiving, and yeah, that was a great show. We had a good card. We had a great crowd. The MPW fans, we have a consistent, group of them that are there no matter what. Every single week, they are invested in what we got going on, and the show wouldn't be the show without them. So.
Oh yeah, I always had gone to the point of this is coming from a sports broadcaster perspective of Vince Scully, who was the commentator for the Dodgers for 67 years,
The greatest.
and it's the roar of the crowd that really kind of gets you going, that brings that energy.
Oh man, I remember that match. What did I do that night? I think I was in a 6-man. I was in a 6-man tag. That was the opening match, and the opening match is my favorite place to be because the crowd is with you. And I remember I got the tag and I jumped in, and they just went nuts, and I was like, I haven't done anything yet, and they just went crazy. And I'll never forget that match, and that was a really fun special night for sure.
Absolutely. So speaking about Danny Devine as the professional wrestler and as a person, I do want to start off with a post that you had posted on social media. That's kind of how we started to connect and all that back in February of 5th this year. And you had said that 8 years ago this year, you said you sent out a tweet asking how to get more involved in wrestling, and then you had no idea how to start and what to expect. But then you just really loved wrestling. And then fast forward all these years later, you met some incredible people, became champion, and like how much you love MPW. So take us back, like during those 7 years ago, like what was the motivation to become like the professional wrestler that you are now?
Oh man, this is an embarrassing story, but I'll tell you. So I've been a fan of wrestling my whole life. Like I'm addicted to it still. My cousins and I would watch it together. I would, trampoline, backyard wrestle with my brother and my friends, and everybody kind of grew out of it eventually. That it kind of happens, and I just didn't. I just never stopped liking it. And I remember I was on Facebook one day, and a friend of mine's karate teacher was also a wrestler for MPW at the time.
Oh wow.
And he was like,
wow.
hey, they're doing a show in it was Simi Valley, which is near where I live. They're like, do you want to go to this show? And I'm like, yeah, I'm like wrestling that's not on TV. Like, let's go. So we went and we watched the show, and me being just so like overly confident, I'm a pretty athletic guy. So I thought like, I watched the show and I'm like, I could do this. I could definitely do this. So I found one of the coaches who actually ended up being my trainer later, but I messaged him on Twitter. I was like, hey, if you need another guy for wrestling, like, let me know. And he should have just blocked me or ripped me to shreds. And instead, he just sent me the link to the school. He's like, "Hey, you should come to MPW and whatever." And then a couple weeks later, I walked into the school for the first time, and I just never left.
Yeah, it's just that love and passion. I feel like that really just continues to drive people.
Yeah, for sure. It was the love for wrestling, and then it was the love for the place and the people.
Was there any professional wrestlers growing up that you were like inspired to become a professional wrestler too, or was that more kind of later on?
Well, I was a Triple H guy. Still am a Triple H guy. I'm a Triple H guy. My first email address was Triple H fan.
Okay.
Um, but my cousins, one of them was always The Rock, and the other one was always Stone Cold. So I got stuck. I was Triple H. And I just look back and I didn't realize how good Triple H was. I look back as a wrestler now and I'm like, oh my gosh, he's the best. But
Right.
he just, I don't know, when his entrance and the lights and when you spit the water, I think every time I get out of the shower, I still do the Triple H when I get out of the shower. And yeah, he was my guy. He's the best. It changes obviously when you become a wrestler, but since I was a kid, Triple H has been the man.
Oh yeah, I mean, definitely has to be like one of the greatest of all times. I know he's a Hall of Famer right now with DX, but he definitely deserves that separate
Oh, for
thing.
sure. For sure.
Yeah. So again, it's just awesome to really see your career progress. One of the main things I want to talk about is, I guess the question I'm trying to ask is, we see a lot of people, value tag team wrestling, but what does tag team wrestling mean to you? What does it mean to Danny Devine?
Man, tag team wrestling, I think it's my favorite kind of wrestling for sure.
Mhm.
Um, I think it's a lost art, to be honest with you.
Okay.
And to me, it's something that I'm trying to do, but do correctly. Because I don't want to say that like there's right or wrong, because wrestling is open to everybody's interpretations.
Right.
But I think on a lot of shows, it's tag team wrestling gets a lot of like, oh, who's not doing anything? You and you're a team. You guys go wrestle the other two guys that don't have anything else going on. You guys are a
Right.
team, or like a random thrown together 6-man. And don't get me wrong, MBW does a ton of those too. But I think that there's something special about two guys that are a team. They work together. They have good synergy. They go out and they can put on something different than any singles match, because if every match is the same singles match with the same kind of setup, people get bored. But if a tag team is like, this is very unique and different, they're using the elements of there being two guys and then being a team.
Mhm.
I think that part gets lost, and there's very few tag teams here in SoCal that like really do the work the tag situation of the match. So
Right.
it means to me it's bringing that part of wrestling back.
It's the
So
storytelling. Yeah.
yeah, like working we have someone to tag here. So it was Brendan and I won tag team of the year this year, which was crazy. Um, like I was like, what the heck? It meant a lot to me because I tag team wrestling is so important.
Mhm. Yeah, I mean, when you won that award, I mean, it had to feel like, wow, I won a tag team of the year award with my own brother. So it's
I
like,
know, which is crazy because we've never been tag team champions anywhere together. I've been
right.
tag team champions with other people, and he's been tag team champions with other people, but we've never been tag champions together.
Well, yeah, I mean, but especially when it comes to you, I mean, you've been in a tag team, you've been in a trio,
Yep.
right? Like when it comes to Danny Devine, I think that tag team wrestling really is his specialty.
I would agree. Yeah, it's my favorite thing to teach as well on when I teach, and if you look at both of my trainers, Seth Skyfire is one of my trainers, and back in OVW he was CM Punk's tag team partner for a long time,
Mhm.
and then Ray Rosas is in PP Ray, who's like the standard of tag teaming in SoCal. So that's where I got it. I learned from two tag team specialists, and then that's what my deal is.
Oh yeah, I mean, especially learning from PP Ray. Again, like you said before, the origins of SoCal tag team wrestling. I mean,
Oh
it,
yeah.
it's really cool to get under that tutelage and really get that knowledge.
Oh man, well, the first time we ever wrestled them, I went, "Oh, this is what tag team wrestling is supposed to be like." Because
Mhm.
I didn't truly get it, but we had the privilege of very early on getting to get in the car with them and drive to the show and then wrestle them. So we learned the whole trip from the drive to the show. We got a chance to kind of learn and pick their brains and learn how to put this tag match together and everything else, and ended up being still to this day, one of my favorite matches we've ever had. And
Mhm.
yeah, they're the best.
Oh yeah. I mean, I got to see them over at Raise the Bar as well, the first ever show.
Yeah,
And the energy that they had just to see those two back again in that tiny little venue of Pomona.
yeah, yeah. They rock.
Yeah. It's kind of cool just hearing about, just kind of like the beginnings of what you've had in your wrestling career, whether that was through the tag teaming trios or even your singles run as well. Let's talk about, I believe thus far is your biggest accomplishment in professional wrestling. That's becoming NPW champion. And it's, that's the world title, a company that really means a lot to you as a person.
Yeah,
To finally get that moment, defeating, I believe it was Barbie Boy, if I remember correctly.
yeah.
What was that moment like for you?
It's actually it was like the fourth time I'd ever done it. But it was the first time in Chatsworth, which is like our kind of our new this new
Right.
time in wrestling. And it's always cool. It's always cool when you're like, hey, I'm the poster boy for this brand right now, and they're trusting me to kind of carry that banner as we were talking about earlier. That I'll always be the banner. That's literally the physical banner at that time of I'm with this place. And it's cool. It means that like they can depend on you to be in the main event, to have the big matches, if they things like that. So it means the world to me. And it sucks that I had to give it up due to injury. But you know what? The show goes on. That's how it goes, and I'll get it back.
Oh yeah, we can't wait for that comeback season to happen. I already know you're probably training right now, and
Oh yeah,
yeah, having
rehab
this all.
every day.
Oh yeah, I mean, especially when you have that motivation that still gets to you. Another thing I do want to mention too is you've traveled to a lot of these wrestling promotions other than just MPW.
Yeah.
Is there in 2022 any promotion that you're looking at, whether that's in the SoCal scene or even maybe cross country?
Prestige is the one that I look at. I watch a lot of Prestige, like on IWTV, and I would love to be on Prestige. They do a lot of tag team stuff over at Prestige. They've got Midnight Heat and Peter and Ray were just on it. West Coast Wrecking Crew, a lot of big tag team things. So I think Brendan and I could fit into that scene real quick, into that division of tag wrestling. So Prestige is definitely on there. West Coast Pro is up in San Francisco area, the Bay Area. They're killing it. They have insane cards.
Oh yeah.
So to jump into one of those are definitely the two kind of in my wheelhouse, or where my mind's kind of, man, I'd love to go there at the moment.
Oh yeah, I mean, I think, and I'm probably not the only one speaking about this, but I think another one that Danny Devine would be a great fit at, since they're going to be here in California in June, has to be All Elite Wrestling.
Hey, maybe, who knows? They got a lot of good tag teams too. But yeah, that would be crazy. I got a lot of people that I know that are there, that have been there, both on Dark and that work there. Like guys like Scorpio Sky, who just won the TNT title. That guy gave me advice my first year when he didn't have to.
Hmm.
Talk to me on Instagram. And, hey, I just messaged him like, hey, I just started out. Do you have any advice for me? And he sent me back messages and stuff. And I expected to be ignored, and he never did. So there's good people there. There's good people everywhere.
Oh yeah, well, we can't wait for that. Hopefully, if we see you on Dark or any other wrestling company, even Impact Wrestling, maybe. Like, there's a lot of
Maybe.
good tag team, special teams over there. One other thing I was very interested to, and this was probably more of a personal question, was
Yeah.
the Millennials, the
Yeah.
the world famous trio of Daniel Moon, Brendan Devine, and of course Danny Devine. The first time I saw the Millennials, I think it was about 2018. I want to say 2019. And I just remember you guys have the phones, you guys were taking selfies, you guys were really embracing the technology aspect. Like, I know you guys were having fun throughout that whole process, but like, what was that like, really embracing a whole generation?
It started as a joke. To be honest with you, it started as a joke. Somebody was making fun of us, so we were like, "Oh, we'll just be the Millennials like that. We'll just use it as a gimmick." And like Daniel Moon, funny, he hated the name. He hated it with all his heart. He just played ball because Brendan and I were like, "This is funny. We should do this." And then, but it was cool because you hear that all the time. Like Millennials get such a bad rap on Twitter and on the internet, like, "Oh, they don't work hard," and da 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 da. And Moon and Brendan and I were like, "We're the hardest working guys here. You know what? Let's just take this and use it to get as much heat as possible. And so we went, and honestly, that era of time got us booked a lot of places because we ended up being this group of 3 guys that would come in, be obnoxious, and then they would just put in whatever guys they wanted to beat us up, and we just wrestle them, and we got thrown around, and we got a lot of awesome opportunities in trios and learning trios and all that in that period of time.
Oh yeah, I mean, you definitely saw the crowd interact whenever you guys had the phones out taking selfies. No,
Yeah,
those,
I know. Now Austin Theory's doing it on TV. I'm like, man, we were doing that 3 years ago.
like, where's the royalty checks?
I know. Come on.
Yeah, no, but it's awesome to see you guys, on your prospective careers. Whether that's being, the leader of MPW or one of the leaders, or just, really just killing it on your own. It's really cool to see you guys strive.
Thank you, man. Yeah, it's been great. I miss Daniel Moon. He's kind of quasi retired. He's got a lot of stuff going on in real life, but man,
Mhm.
that dude was unreal.
Oh yeah, there's a lot of names that especially in the SoCal scene, that I feel like that within this year, maybe possibly, like there's a lot of them. Like you look at Vinny Wasco, otherwise known as Joey Gonzalez, over in
Man,
NXT. That just he made appearances over in MPW.
yeah,
There's a lot of them that, like, I believe that are going to be really, really, like, in good company when it comes to being signed or something this year.
I hope so. Fun fact: I was Vinny's last independent match.
Yeah, I remember that. It was his farewell match to Independence.
Yeah, send him to WWE.
Danny's all like, "Yeah, you go to WWE. I'll stay here."
Yeah, I'll stay here. Loser leaves town. He got the better deal in that exchange.
Oh man, yeah, but it's
Yeah.
crazy. It's
Yeah.
crazy. Like, there's so many people. I mean, if we're even talking about the MPW stuff, like, there's a lot of students I believe are really going to make an impact. When it comes to maybe this year. I mean, you look at a lot of people like Full Send, or what was Full Send a long time ago, in Dustin Daniels and Busio, or even in the women's division. I mean, you look at Johnny Robbie, you look at Aunt Heidi, Mac Daddy, Milo. There's a lot of people out there that really have the potential to really, like, make waves.
Yeah, all of those people that you named are very, very special place in my heart. I helped train a lot of them, and Full Send, or used to be Full Send. They're Full Send other places. But Dustin Daniels, Busio, I was there the first day. Both of them took their first bumps. I was Dustin Daniels' first match, and yeah, if they keep pushing hard, they could really be something. And I like them because when they go out and tag team, they you see kind of the fingerprints, of Brendan and I on them with their tag team stuff, because we trained them how to do it. As far as the women's division goes, I think that the women's division, honestly, or women's in SoCal, needs to be brought up a bit. And I think people like Johnny Robbie, Milo, Heidi, they're gonna do it. Because all of them work so hard, and I think they can make big waves in the coming months or years to come. So yeah.
Oh yeah. No, I agree with that. I mean, I feel like that when it comes to women's wrestling, especially in SoCal, you have a lot of names that, like, that could really bring up the women's wrestling in Cali wrestling. You even look at some of the people, like Candice LeRae, for example, came from Cali. Like, she's over here in the SoCal area of the Inland Empire. Same thing goes with people like Viperous, those type of names. So I really feel like that, especially this year, we're gonna most likely 99% sure that we're gonna see a lot of women's wrestling coming on, and I'm really happy for that.
Yeah, I hope so. Anytime anybody can improve, it brings everybody up. If somebody from your area kind of gets to the next level, it just makes everybody go. It makes everyone get better.
Oh yeah, and then speaking about those students of MPW, I see a lot of great breakout stars that are happening, or that are that are showcased when it comes to MPW shows. Some of the names, of course, as I just mentioned about Johnny Robbie, Milo, and Full Send, all those names, and Heidi included. But there's a lot of names that I've seen that are really, like, destined for greatness. I feel like you look at people like Miggy Rose, Diego Valens, right? Even people in Void, like J2. There's so many people out there that are really going to step up when it comes to 2022.
You know, I couldn't agree more. You know, one thing that MPW that I kind of take with a lot of pride is we kind of are a melding pot of a lot of places. Like we don't just use MPW people. Like we bring in people from Level Up, Santino Brothers, all kinds of different places where they get a chance to kind of show their stuff. And Miggy Rose, I can't say enough good things about Miggy Rose. He's probably my favorite wrestler. It goes Miggy Rose, then Triple H. But he's one of the most talented guys I've ever been in the ring with. I've ever gotten a chance to train with and work with. He just has so much passion and drive for this. And, you know, that guy rocks. And I hope that he gets all the success in the world. I know he's getting opportunities to be on television with Championship Wrestling. I know that he's been kind of popping up at different promotions here and there. So I couldn't be more proud of that guy. Some of the other names that you were mentioning, J2 Mattioli from Level Up. We used him a lot in the Void, and he's now currently MPW Tag Team Champion. And that guy is so talented, and he's just absolutely killer. Another couple dudes that I love are Jordan Cruz. Obviously, he's the Hollywood, he's the Heritage Champion. That dude is so good. Like I've wrestled him a couple times. And I remember when I was in the ring with him, I went, "Oh man, I got to step it up here because I got to keep up with this guy because he was so good." You know, but guys like him, Robin Shaw, also from San Diego, for a big dude, he can do so crazy things. And I started with him. We came up together. I had a hand in training him a little bit, and he's great. So yeah, there's tons of guys here in this area that are just it's unreal the amount of talent that is in this place that just needs to kind of expand a little bit.
I've discussed this with so many of my guests. California wrestling, I feel like, is so spoiled. Just having all this talent.
Yeah, it's crazy how there's so many good people. It's like you can't go to a show and not see really good people. You know, I look at, like you mentioned, Raise the Bar. That show is ridiculous.
Yeah.
Like stacked beyond belief. Everybody on that show is like unreal good.
Oh yeah. I mean, trust me when you say that. I mean, even going towards the women's wrestling aspect of it, I remember that show in particular, that first one. You know, trying to remember, Ruby Reyes. Ruby Reyes was a huge name that definitely killed it with Delilah Doom. You know, and just having those type of matches out there where they were just interacting with the crowd and going all over the place, where the ring was literally next to the stage. I mean, it was honestly awesome to see.
Yeah, Delilah Doom is really good. Really good. I want to see Johnny Robbie versus Delilah Doom.
Oh yeah. Well, hopefully we could get that booked on one of those awesome MPW shows, which you guys can catch every Friday at Chatsworth, California. The links will probably be down below by the time of this recording. But no, it's awesome to see that. One really random question too, before I get to this next question. So we had discussed on the air or off the air about the names of these events.
Yeah.
You know, whether that was through Black Friday, I Need a Hero, I believe that was another one.
Yeah.
You know, Cyberstorm. That, like, there's a lot of great names. Where does these names come up with? Is it something that's on the fly? Is it something that just inspires you and you're like, hey, that's a cool name for an event?
It's a team effort that we have, like a kind of a group of us that kind of are we all kind of decide what's best for the show and work together to put it together. It's not a, you know, and basically what we do is we look at what's happening on that show. Because we're weekly, we get a chance to kind of really plan in advance of what we want to do and where we want to go. Mm-hmm. So we mostly just look at who's on the show, what's the theme of the show, and then how can we name it. Like the first time Jordan Cruz ever came on the show, we named the show Cruise Control because Jordan was on the show. Right. I Need a Hero, which you mentioned. Rebel Storm was in the main event. He's a guy from San Diego. His theme song is I Need a Hero. So we just named the show I Need a Hero. So they seem like incredibly, the hardest part is I do all the graphic work. So it's trying to find how to make the artwork that fits around the theme. I love doing it, but that's always like a challenge in itself. But yeah, it all comes from trying to showcase. I try to name shows after some of the guys, because how cool is it to even one time you had a show that was based around your character, you know? So I wish someone had done it for me early on. So I try to do it for other people.
Oh yeah. I mean, no, it's awesome. The designs are phenomenal. You know, it really, like you said, fits the theme of the show. One of my favorites was Full Stop.
Full Stop.
Yeah, that one with
Yeah.
the little stop sign and the full thing and the black. Like it was truly, and it really reminisced of like where things would go in the future as we saw the kind of the fall was full send, sadly. But
Yeah. Yeah. No, that was, I remember I had that one in my mind because we knew a long time we were like, we're going to eventually, when Full Send breaks up, when they have their match, we'll call the show Full Stop. And it finally happened. So I found that stop sign and I had it on my desktop for so long. I'm like, I'm going to use you someday.
Yeah, and you had mentioned about the graphic design. Like, so I remember I did graphic design back in high school. I haven't done so since. So shout out to my thumbnail maker, Lewis, by the way, who's done it for me all these times. But what inspired you to become a graphic designer?
Necessity. We we had posters that were being made for the show, and when you do it every week, like you have to promote, right? You have to have graphics for your show, and the cooler the graphic, the more people are willing to share the graphics. So like we were kind of doing a template, and it was like a plug and play with like pictures of the show that somebody would take. Some were like blurry or whatever, and I was like, this sucks. So I remember one day I went down and I just spent like a couple of hours and I just sat with Photoshop and I'm like, how do I do this? So I have a 2 monitor setup and I would put like a YouTube video on how to make a movie poster and then my Photoshop open and I would just try to follow what they did. And then there's a graphic designer, Hiban, who does all the bar, raise the bar posters. He does tons of West Coast Pro, Prestige. He does so many. I messaged him and he gave me tons of tips and videos and tutorials. And without him, I'd be lost because he was kind of like my coach through that. And he kind of just taught me how, or when he saw something that looked like crap, he'd message me like, hey dude, you got to clean this up. So it's all just from trial and error. My first couple, don't look at them. They're bad, but I'm pretty proud of them now.
Oh yeah, I mean it's definitely awesome to see. Again, I feel like also that there's different stories being told without each event. You know what I mean? Like whether it's I Need a Hero or
Yeah.
Cyberstorm. There's so many. As of this recording, there's probably way more names, but
Well, I like to think of like those old Disney VHS boxes. The artwork for those animated movies like told the story of the movie without letting you watch the movie. So it like enticed you to pick up the box and go, I gotta watch this movie.
Right.
This is clearly the bad guy. This is clearly the main character. Whatever's going on. You look for little details. So I base all my posters on, could I put this on the box of a DVD for this show? Like would people pick it up and be able to go, oh, whoa, this guy's clearly evil. And oh, these two definitely don't like each other. So that's kind of where the inspiration came from.
Oh yeah, I mean it's awesome. I mean, for me as someone that hates Premiere Pro when it comes to editing, like it could be a challenge.
Yeah, like I said, it just takes practice and trial and error.
So the final question I have before my final question, if that makes sense, is kind of a question that I was actually interested in as well. If you could recruit anybody from either MPW or any promotion to be a part of the Millennials or any type of faction, who would you recruit?
Oh man, let's see.
Obviously, Triple H has to be one of them.
Yeah, Triple H, I guess. Miggy Rose is always my answer. I'd put Miggy Rose. He'd be, if I could add anyone to a faction, it's Miggy Rose.
Oh, okay.
He's like a Rottweiler. He's so, he's scrappy. He's got the submission style, which is very different than any of the other guys that are already in it. Mm-hmm. And if I could get another one, so it'd be Miggy Rose. And then if I had to take, say I needed a woman, I'd put Johnny Robbie in it.
Okay. So like a Millennials 2.0.
Yeah. If that was our crew, we'd had our trios, and we'd have our singles guy, it'd be Miggy Rose, and we'd have our girl, that'd be Johnny Robbie. So that would be my team right there.
Yeah, I can just imagine too. You guys have the millennial jackets on and the the whole posse.
We'll do a 5-on-5 Survivor Series tag. That's going to be my team.
Yeah, that would be cool, especially if you could name an event that would be kind of reminiscent of the Survivor Series.
It's in the works. Don't worry, it's coming.
Oh, so hopefully a couple months from now in November, we could go back and like, he was right. So before I get to the final question, Danny, I do want to say thank you so much for taking your time, especially through the athlete recovery process. So we hope you'll get through that in a speedy recovery. But thank you for having this conversation.
Hey man, yeah, I'll talk about wrestling all day. So anytime I can talk about wrestling and selfishly myself, I'll take the advantage.
So the final question I have is kind of a unique one because you would usually ask the, how would you feel about your story, kind of those typical questions, but I think this one's actually better. Shout out to the Wrestling Classic, Justin. By the way, he had told me, he's like, you need to change this. So the question I have is, if you could go back to your 10 years from now, or you could go back to your old self, what would you tell yourself? Like, what would you kind of give your advice to that, younger you?
Um, uh, Confidence. Trust yourself a little bit more. I spent a lot of time not going out and getting on shows that I could have, or betting on myself, I guess, is for that you hear all the time. I kind of stayed locked down in MPW because I thought, no, this is a safe place and I'm not good enough to go out yet. And I got to be ready. And I wish that I had taken more of an opportunity to get out there and learn and expand my, my resume of what I was doing. And that's what I try to tell my students now. Get out there. Go show up at a show. Help set up chairs. Help set up the ring. If maybe somebody will see you and they'll think, oh, wow, you were great. And they'll get you on. They'll get you opportunity. So I wish that that'd be my advice to myself. Get out there more. Go put yourself out there. Get seen. Set up those chairs. Get on those shows. Do those lower cards. Because man, I think it would have made a big difference. I mean, I'm happy. Don't get me wrong. Happy with the way it turned out. But that would be definitely something I would nudge myself towards.
Oh, absolutely. Well, Danny, once again, thank you so much. Is there any social media that people could find you if they're like, hey, this guy's really cool? You know what? I'm gonna go say hi to him.
You can follow me on Twitter and Instagram. It's at Danny Divine Pro. I think that's it. Yeah, Danny Divine Pro. And there's no other things. I have fake Twitter accounts that were impersonating me for a while. But yeah, follow me on social media and at Millennium Pro Wrestling. That's the most important thing. Go follow MPW. You'll find me there. I'm always there.
Well, Danny, thank you so much. And I guess I got to do an outro because I always have to do these every single show. But if you want to listen on Apple Podcasts or Spotify or anywhere you can listen to your podcast, make sure you go hit that subscribe button and maybe hit a 5-star review. That would help. Or if you want to just watch, if you're watching on YouTube, I commend you on that. Thank you. Make sure you hit subscribe and maybe, follow Sock Monkey Mike on Twitter and Instagram at Sock Monkey Mike. But not only that, follow Danny. That's the more important person right there. But thank you guys so much, and I'll see you guys in the next episode of Your Story.